I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know why these things keep happening. I don't know why they keep spreading to other people. I've tried so many times to build a team to try to understand. And regardless of the setbacks, progress was made, but the story continued to get stranger. I think it's about time I go in. I go deep. This is the audio logs for the curious case of Dakota Frandsen. I don't know if you're going to believe what I'm about to say. Quite frankly, I stopped caring a long time ago.
This is interesting. It is September 7th, 2022. It is approximately 8:24 p.m. At this time, I'm currently still looking into more information about the events that took place yesterday. As it turned out, the 19 days was a legitimate mark. Something happened. And I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure on what just yet. There are some who are obviously trying to take advantage of the situation in order to make them fulfill their own fragile egos. They've developed possible delusions, thinking that they are part of some great scheme. They are some important player in these matters, trying to take the focus away from the actual case, rather than, and basically their motives are being questioned. Their methods could easily compromise an investigation were it to indicate any potential negative outcomes. Day 19. Something happened. Let me start with this. As I still have a civilian job that requires me to go in roughly about midnight, sometimes earlier if I'm lucky. Obviously, I usually sleep through the day. I got up just before 6:30 p.m. last night, Mountain Daylight Time. Within a minute of my waking up, there was a power outage. Official cause believed to be weather related, being that there is a bit of a heat wave right now, and obviously everybody's running their ACs on high. I remember flashes of something. This sporadic sleep schedule, it's not helping me get directly into these certain brainwaves I need to be in order to receive messages from them if they are in fact utilizing such methods. Those who I have surrounded myself with seem to rely on the overly mystical side of things, which in itself promotes a paradigm in which should be avoided at all costs. Religious-esque. It is something that is highly advised against, yet very few actually follow it. It is a dangerous paradigm in that it develops an almost addicting precedent. People become addicted to their religious ideals, and even if the slightest misinformation, even if there is new information presented, which in theory proves that their ideals are the same, are in fact true, it's just not quite as they were portrayed as they were taught. They become irritable. They become defensive. An innate tribalism is starting to enact, and I am noticing it in some of my contacts, which I'm going to have to start reducing any further communications involving this subject if this behavior continues to show. But let's get back to what I was saying. I remember seeing flashes before I woke up, beings standing in what looked like a field, farming field. I went outside to further assess the outage, as I did notice that certain cell phone frequencies were also compromised by the power outage, making it difficult to look into seeing any estimations as to when the power was expected to be restored. When I went outside, this is out of Buell, Idaho, there was this almost translucent image of what, like, the crescent-shaped UFO that brought me that vision and those writings when we started talking about Nazis and their alleged UFO connections on an episode of Bald and Bonkers. The writing does seem similar to alleged writings of Maria Orsic, a trans medium from the Czech Republic who was allegedly responsible for the Nazi UFO connection. And if you're hearing barking outside, that's just one of my neighbor's dogs. There's several strays in the area. Can't exactly rule that as a potential connection. Maria is believed to be the one who fed the Nazis information on free energy, Aldebaran, beings from the stars. She's allegedly one behind the Aryan agenda. She's the one that made those connections. Even though her existence is highly debated due to some inconsistencies, which is pretty much natural for any topic under this discussion, because, as mentioned before, people tend to develop religious-like tendencies and not bother with actual research. Again, setting dangerous precedents. However, the weirdness factor alone makes it something I cannot ignore. The writings look like a rushed version of Maria Orsic's writings, which is highly believed to be ancient Sumerian, believed to be connected to none other than the Anunnaki, or the branch off civilization which set up a colony within the Aldebaran star system. As there is the aforementioned heat wave going on about now, I went out to a relative's house to help beat the heat for a couple hours. While driving out towards this location, one tried to present that there were messages trying to be brought through them. However, their reliability is continued to be questioned due to the number of times in which I tried to test the validity of such claims, and the reaction is volatile compared to a young child throwing a temper tantrum even. And yes, I hope they hear this. As I was driving out to the location, which would be towards my grandparents' house, where the first known abduction situation in my case took place, there was this dark, shady kind of mass. Looked like it was sort of a oblong shape to it. I don't know. Upon researching any reports of recent UFO sightings within the same time frame, a very similar craft was spotted flying about in Coeur d'Alene, approximately 367 miles as the crow flies from that location. This report would have come in roughly an hour before the outage took place. I'm highly skeptical about the particular shape of this craft due to the fact it seemed to be phasing out or passing through something for high-speed travel. There's allegedly a prison base not too far from me, which should be noted for this record. There were attempts to utilize a spirit box communication. However, family members being family members couldn't stop interrupting me for the necessary time, as they seemed to hold no regard to the fact that this is my life. However, it should also be noted that I did attempt a spirit box recording before I fell asleep, before this incident took place entirely. We returned home, and I debated trying to catch a couple more hours of sleep before I went into work. However, due to recent issues with my car having been in the shop, I got myself into the habits of going to work roughly 10 p.m. in order to still maintain my full 8 hours before having to drive the vehicle I was borrowing to its appropriate owner to help them get home from work. Upon leaving, I was partially delayed due to a couple women talking in the middle of the street. One was trying to walk her dog as the weather started to cool down. Another was driving around the corner, started up a conversation with the woman who was walking her dog, saying that there was a light gray, almost whitish pit bull in the area that didn't seem too friendly. Naturally, the stigma around pit bulls, this other woman started turning away. They blocked me from being able to leave my driveway for a couple minutes. However, in the distance, I noticed roughly south by southwest, there was a red light in the distance. It seemed the light itself was awfully bright to have been coming off of a normal aircraft. And it also seemed to be sending out smaller probes, maybe. I don't know. But it seemed like the second it realized I was looking at it, it disappeared. So within a span of 5 hours, I spotted at least 3 visible enough craft. Worth noting, though I feel like there was many more, sitting just outside the visible spectrum, and I did not have any of my appropriate equipment with me in order to further test these notions. And again, there's certain people involved that want to draw the attention to themselves, to their own fragile fucking egos, that they compromise the integrity of any official investigation, despite being called out on numerous accounts. I put in some calls to the contactees I've been assisting with their own encounters, just to assess if anybody has been experiencing anything. Only one seemed to hold any credible account out of Georgia. UK seemed to be getting some sort account out of it. The UK seemed to be getting some sort of interference after being exposed to the same piano melody I mentioned on a previous episode. It's hard to say. It's hard to find decent investigators in these types of fields. Definitely seems like something is about to happen. And certain individuals cannot seem to break the habit, despite the fact that they have been called out on numerous occasions, to draw the attention to themselves and therefore continuing to bastardize any attempt at an official investigation. Yes, I'm frustrated. Yes, I'm pissed off. Because this constant interference, I don't know. I don't know what to think. I am trying to find a translation for those earlier writings, as I was given some sort of nudge to observe those a bit closer. However, the parties in which tried to suggest that, once again, have no clue what they actually are fucking talking about. It's, I don't know. There's too many unknown variables going about here, and so I don't know. I'm frustrated. I'm irritated. And quite frankly, it seems to me, I get the impression that certain individuals are taking advantage of the vague nature, of the highly misunderstood nature of such phenomenon to completely bastardize it and try to fulfill their own ego. Finding people actually worth a damn is becoming more and more difficult, and I find myself reevaluating further approaches, further involvement with these people, unless they get their act together. And of course, this also brings up a point I've mentioned a few times before. And it seems like every time I find a good traction record, something always comes up that makes me try to evaluate things further. Some new questions are brought, some new dilemmas that make me reevaluate what I know, or substantiate matters for us. And my tendency is to actually try to find some sort of tangible evidence, like you're actually supposed to do in an investigation sort of manner. Seems to be troublesome to some individuals. And then there's also the people that just try to get me to shut up because they just don't care about what's going through my head. They don't care. They don't care. They just simply don't care. Calm down, Dakota. Calm down. It's not a good time to start firing off like that, and it never does anything good. I will continue with the regression course by Tony Rodriguez, as recommended by Elena Denon. October 15th will be an interesting date, as I'll be once again talking with Craig Campbell Basso about his new book and try to exchange information on further case studies. This is going to be interesting. It's going to get interesting very quickly.